Hello and welcome to another edition of Interview with DJ Nocturna. If you are watching on my YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Well, today I have another guest. I'm speaking with the lead vocalist and songwriter for a band called Candy Coffin. It's a post-punk new romantics. I have Jame Lathren. How are you doing?
Hi. Great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me all the way from
Certainly.
South Carolina.
Right. We made this about as far across the United States as possible.
Yeah. So have you were you born and raised in South Carolina?
No, I've only been here I guess about 18 years now.
Oh,
I've lived around a variety of different places, but primarily in the Southeast.
oh, okay. I heard it's beautiful there. My brother was just there, and he was telling me that it's really it's a beautiful place.
It is. The humidity where I am can get very bad in the summer, but in general, it is very, very beautiful. We're very close to both the ocean and the mountains, so
Oh,
that's one of the primary draws for this area is for people to come here so they can access both really easily.
oh wow, that's really good. I mean, just like here, we have the ocean and we have
Right.
some mountains, and this is I mean, you can't really go anywhere. You have to fly out of here if you want to. At least with you,
Sure.
you can just drive anywhere you want. That's a good thing about living in
Right.
the mainland.
Right.
So I know you guys just released an album, an LP. Was it November or just last week or so? Was that album released?
I think it's we've been doing a couple different things with the record. I think the album itself finally dropped like October 21st,
No.
but we've had singles and videos before and after that to kind of just really get it out there as much as we're able, you know.
Yeah, I've never really interviewed somebody from South Carolina, and then, the music that you play is very deep and dark, and I like it. So,
Thank you.
can you tell me a little bit about the name of your band and how you came up with that? As I thought that was really interesting. The first thing I noticed was that.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it's an interesting story. I won't make it too long, but my brother, who's a guitarist, and when he visits, we play guitar, and we were kind of kidding around years ago about writing some songs and having a band, and we were just kind of joking about what we would call the band. And uh, he said, "What were those plastic coffins that were filled with hard candy in the shape of bones back in the 70s that we used to get?" And if you know about these, they're called Mr. Bones. They were made by Fleer. They're discontinued. And he said, "What were those candy coffins called?" And I said, "I don't know, but you just named my next band." So there
Wow.
you go.
Very
Yeah.
interesting.
And of course, I give my brother the credit every time on that. And I went back to him and he was like, "I have no recollection of that."
Oh wow.
But
I'm
it's
trying
a
to
true
remember
story.
that too. Back then in the 70s, they had all these amazing things that they come up with, and you never find them anymore, even like dolls and things like that. And
Yeah. If people could get the rights to some of that stuff and remake it in small batches, I think they could do okay.
oh yeah, you mean the candy coffins? So
All of that, they had trash cans, they had coffins, they had school lockers, and they were all filled with just basically sugar that's hard pressed into a shape, and so it was just really novel. They don't, I mean, I guess they try to do some candy like that these days, like interesting things.
yeah, I always remember this particular candy that I used to like. It was called Horlick. I don't know if you remember
Okay.
this. I don't know if some people don't. I mean, I guess wherever you live, if you ever ate it, because they had it here. It came in it was round, and they come in white and brown.
Okay.
Milk. It's malted balls. So there's
Okay.
white ones and there's brown ones. So I guess one is more milk, the other is more chocolate, and
Gotcha.
they're shaped like medicine, and they come in a medicine jar.
Oh,
They,
wow.
they were the most delicious thing ever, and I would buy them, and I would just like, and now they're gone. I mean, if you search for
Yeah.
them, and I looked, you can find some in Japan, but they're not exactly the same. And they're
Right. Yeah. I imagine these days they would frown upon making candy this shape and style of medicine. That can confuse some people. Oh,
but certainly the name of your band is like it's very original, and it's kind of like I don't know, like bittersweet. Like you got the candy portion and you got the coffin, so it's kind of like people wonder like, okay, so what's this song about? What is this band about?
yeah. Yeah, and that's why it stuck and fit even more when I actually started proceeding with this outfit, and the songs that I started to gravitate towards, it made sense, so I stuck with it.
So you are the primary songwriter as well,
Right.
right? So
That's right.
how did you come up with your members of your band? Do you want to share who they are and just
Sure.
give.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do, because they're fantastic and they make me sound good. I've been through a couple of iterations like most bands coming up, and I've really settled in with a group of guys who are just fantastic. They're, they were all here residing. Some were active in other bands, some were not. And I'll just kind of go down the roster. When I was working with another musician in town on this project, she recommended Tom Alewine, who's our lead guitarist. He's been with me the whole time, and Tom was an influential guitarist in the '80s for a band called Bachelors of Art out of South Carolina. And interestingly enough, they played a music that could be stylistically similar compared to what we do today. And when I heard him play and saw his capabilities, I was really enamored by that. It felt like it was such a good match, and we've been together since the start of Candy Coffins. And then I was fortunate enough to get Justin Purdy and Alex Mabrey into the fold. They're both very accomplished musicians who have had a number of projects in town. And Justin plays keys for us, although he's a virtuoso in a ton of instruments. And then Alex is an expert with bass guitar. And then finally, Jonathan Bradley rounds out with drums and percussion. He's been in a number of outfits over the years. And one of his biggest things was he was a touring drummer for Iron and Wine for a while, who you may have heard of, also a Southeastern band. So, I've just really gotten lucky that I've found these people. They're interested in what I'm doing. They can push it to the next level, and they've decided to stick around. One of the hardest things with a band is keeping the members and keeping them content. And I think we've really bonded, and it's a lot of fun to do what we do now.
And this was since when you first created the band, which is in 2018, right?
Well, Tom's been with me since 2018, but the rest of them joined right as COVID hit. I was assembling a new iteration of this band, and they all joined. And then I said, "Guess what? We can't practice or play because of COVID." So, anyhow, we got past that.
Did you guys do things online like everybody else were doing? Yeah.
Well, yeah, everybody was stumbling around trying to figure it out. We didn't know what the longevity of that was going to be. We were actually in the midst of putting out our first EP called Somehow Misplaced. And we actually got everything prepped for streaming and the CDs in hand right as COVID hit. And the pandemic and everything shutting down lasted long enough where we eventually, in May of 2020, decided to go ahead and release the EP. We didn't want to sit on it too long. We had already been touting it, saying it was coming. So we went ahead and released that. About 3 months into pandemic, we got itchy to practice, and we started understanding COVID parameters a little bit better. So I went to the rehearsal space, and I did some things to get good airflow moving out from the space, move each member's kind of area further from one another. And we would sanitize in and out and all that thing going in the space. And so we started back with rehearsals. And then as the longer it went and people were doing digital things and streaming, I got this idea with a friend of mine, David Adams, who runs DV8 Productions. He's a professional videographer. I said, "Why don't you come record one of our practices and we'll put it online?" And that snowballed into Live from a Distance, which is on YouTube. It's a full set that we play without an audience in a gigantic warehouse. It's professionally shot with at least 3 cameras, if not more. It's professionally recorded. The audio is. And Dave Alewine, Tom's brother, ran sound on that. And it's just a fantastic snapshot. And it was the way we stayed relevant during pandemic. And it's really a great calling card for us. And coincidentally, that's the first time the five of us played in a room other than the rehearsal space because of pandemic and because of the timing of them joining. So it's interesting to have that artifact, you know.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I could imagine just getting together and doing that with three cameras. I mean, that must be amazing. I mean, I did see it. It's actually on your YouTube channel if people want to
That's right.
know.
Yeah, I'm
So
really proud of that piece, and those guys should be too that shot it and recorded it because it's fantastic.
yeah. So this album that you released is called Once Do It With Feeling. And that one is it has a 10 songs in the album. What are
Right.
some of the inspiration behind that? Is there a specific theme that you focused on?
Well, I worked closely with John Furr, who's a local engineer and producer here in town. He's a close friend of mine, and he and I decided to, during COVID again, we decided, you know, what are we going to do? And he said, well, why don't I record this record for you and we'll start recording it in your rehearsal space. And I asked him to be the producer as well. So I worked really hand in hand with John on this whole project, and he was um, a really pivotal part of this record. And at a certain point, you know, John, I know the songs like the back of my hand, and the band does too. As John started listening to them and coming up with nuances that maybe we should try and things of that nature, he looked at me like he had had a revelation one night when we were doing some mixing. He's like, "This is a breakup record," and of course, I'm like, I like to keep my cards pretty close on content of songs and lyrical meaning and things like that. But I realized that the record can can provide an arc of a relationship from the beginning to the end, maybe not in sequential order and maybe not with all the chapters there, but it is kind of that kind of tumultuous relationship document, you know. And so that's kind of thematically how what's going into a lot of these songs, or what can be heard in a lot of these songs, both from both points of view in the relationship.
Oh yeah, that's really amazing how I read that it was from two points of view, and that's really
Yeah,
interesting to do that because a lot of times it's only one-sided, you know.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I you know, and that's how I like to approach my songwriting and lyric writing in general, is to take another person's perspective and then try to write about it, try to write about something, you know, get in that headspace.
So for one song, it's like two different perspective, or each songs are just different perspectives.
Well, I'll leave that to your
Oh,
discretion.
okay. I'm gonna pay a little bit more attention now on this one. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So the lyrics to the songs are really interesting. And um you're the primary songwriter, right? Everybody they just yeah, I mean they take your music, and then you guys come up with the whole song and everything.
Yeah, I write the music and the lyrics, and I provide them to the band as demos, and they're very gracious. They don't beat it up too bad. Um, and you know, the reason they're still around, I think, is because they actually enjoy it and they think it's decent to work on. But the luxury I have is that they're all very accomplished musicians and very creative, you know, each one of them. So they add their own take with their instrument to the song. And they may even suggest changes or tweaks or, you know, different turns that the song could take. And we'll workshop those. And if they work really well, which oftentimes they do, then those will be incorporated in the song.
Yeah. Interesting. Now I know you have a single that you just released recently, "Tangled Up in Teacups," which has
That's right.
a beautiful video with
Thank you.
two ballerina dancers.
Yes,
You want to tell us about that? I know it was directed by um Pierson Collectives or
that's
Collection.
right. It's the Pierson Collective, which is a media group out of Columbia here in South Carolina. Fantastic work. And as soon as I was thinking through video, the third video I made for this record, or have made for this record, I knew I wanted to work with them because I'd seen their previous work, and it's just fantastic. It's spot on, and they're doing good stuff. So I had a number of concepts, and I worked with Chad Rochester from Pierson, kind of conceptualizing them and seeing what was really realistic, and then also what may play well on screen and what may not. Because sometimes in your head you can think of something, But if you have an accomplished person dealing with video, they may say, well, let me give you this angle on it because it may not end up looking like you want it to. And he really saved me from probably some pretty silly ideas. But one of my ideas that we all agreed was a pretty great idea was the concept of having ballet dancers in deteriorating or darker, not pretty scenarios or settings, right? I wanted that juxtaposition, and I couldn't be more pleased with it. It just really came together so well.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And is one of them must be related to you?
That's my daughter. Yep,
Oh yeah, yeah.
she's a fantastic dancer, and I really wanted to incorporate her into this video, and she choreographed it.
Oh,
She got her colleague from her dance company to participate, and they were just amazing because we recorded that. We shot that for 3 hours straight during the golden hour on a perfect day, and I didn't know much about ballet until I became so involved in ballet through her. But dancing on point is a rigorous thing. It is like a very physical sport. It's a lot of takes a lot of energy and talent, and it takes a toll on your body. And also, the other thing that's not as, I mean, everybody probably kind of has that sense about ballet, but the other thing that you may not know is that typically ballet dancers dance on a very specific floor. If they go to a stage that doesn't have a floor for ballet, they'll bring one and roll it out and tape it down, and they dance on that type of floor. Well, we had these young ladies dancing in vacant lots and in parking garages, and it was still warm here in South Carolina, and we shot for 3 hours straight, which rarely would you. I mean, I don't even think Swan Lake is 3 hours long, and that even has breaks in it and lulls and things like that. So they were real troopers, and I couldn't be more pleased. And I was really happy personally as a father to showcase my daughter's work. Obviously, she's an aspiring professional ballet dancer, so I wanted to showcase that.
oh yeah, no, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful
Thank you.
video, and yeah, I always wondered what that meant, tangled up in teacups. But I'll leave it up to everybody's imagination, right?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Wow. So this album, I know you released that song recently, and I know you released the Seaside Girls. I know there
Right.
was singles released initially, right before the album was released. The whole album is
Right.
out now, right?
That's right. Yep, it's on streaming. It's CDs are for purchase on Bandcamp. You can stream it on Bandcamp, and all the primary streaming services have it for sure.
So do you guys have any upcoming plans?
Well, we're going to do some shows. Uh, fourth quarter is tough for shows, primarily for us because of so many obligations with family and holidays and things like that. So November, December, it kind of starts to slow down a little bit. We are playing December 10th in Asheville, North Carolina. We're looking forward to that show. And then we have another local show here in January at the Art Bar. But my goal is to start ramping up playing shows and being able to play these songs live, which is really what appeals to me is playing live.
Mm-hmm.
And as a part of that, it will afford me the opportunity to also write songs behind the scenes and prepare some new material. We already have a couple of things in the works.
Yeah. Well, so what is it like in South Carolina with regard to the scene?
Yeah, it's a tough one. We have found that we pretty quickly maxed out our interested audience in our hometown because it's a fairly conservative town. I would say there's not a big music scene, although the people who are in it are diehards and really passionate about what they do. But we quickly realized that going out of town to places like Asheville and Charlotte and Raleigh and Atlanta, we would find bigger potential with audiences that really subscribe to what we're providing.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I see concerts going over there. Because I know they go all over. I mean,
Yeah, typically what we find with Columbia is we get skipped over because they're either heading to Atlanta or to Charlotte or somewhere further up north, and they kind of zip through Columbia and most of South Carolina usually.
And so you guys would have to go to another show for the concert?
To another city.
Yeah, yeah, another
Oh
area,
yeah,
another city. Uh-huh. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I mean, there's some states, some cities are more popular than others, I guess, like big cities and stuff like that. I do the
Yeah,
same. I have to go
yeah.
somewhere for a
Oh, I
specific.
can imagine. Yeah.
I mean, they're
Uh,
banned to come here, but not like we just had a psychedelic furs last night.
awesome. Did you go?
Oh yeah. I went
Awesome.
to the last one. They were here last like 5 years ago too.
Right.
Maybe six years
See,
ago.
I saw them on the tour that they are probably still playing when they came to see you last night, and went to Charlotte for that. And Charlotte, North Carolina, has been really receptive to us. That they seem to have a really good,
Oh, that's.
vital music scene and very receptive to different types of music.
And have you ever thought about relocating somewhere else?
Oh, that kind of makes me tired to even think about.
I know.
We all have families, we all have day jobs and things like that, and so it's kind of out of the question. I think our my most aggressive reach with this band that I aspire to is to get a tour in Europe because I think we have good traction there. People seem to really identify with what we do in Europe, UK. So um, that would be my next step in terms of something like that.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, when you build your home somewhere, you just don't want to get up. It's hard to move. I know it's very difficult.
Very
Yeah.
difficult. Yes,
Yeah. Sometimes you think you packed everything and then you look back and I go, oh my God, I got 5 more bags to do.
that's right. It's
So
like it
I
keeps
know it's,
growing or something.
I know exactly what it's like to move. And I hate moving to even just like 2 blocks away. You have to like,
Sure.
you throw things away because you just don't want to take them.
That's right. You're like, how did I get all this stuff? I didn't even know I had all this stuff.
Can you imagine those hoarders that they don't want to throw things away? I mean, they have to do it at that point. But
That's
yeah.
right.
Well, it's nice to finally like know somebody from South Carolina and just understand a little bit about because I would wonder like what is a goth band doing in South Carolina? But I mean,
Right.
it must be beautiful. I mean, there's some things you just won't change, right? Because you just have you just rooted yourself in that place and you got
That's
family.
right. I mean, it's a great place for children to grow up, and perhaps my location will change after my children are kind of grown. But I was moved around a lot as a child, um, and I didn't want to do that to my children. I wanted them to kind of know
Mm.
everybody and all the places all the way up through, and then let them make their own choices about where to go.
So when did you started playing music instruments and stuff?
Well, I started being in bands when I was in junior high school, so seventh, eighth grade. But I was the lead vocalist for a hardcore band called Habeas Corpses. Um, I didn't play guitar at that time, uh, and then as I got into high school and befriended some people who were musicians, uh, someone Jonathan Burns, who became my best friend, taught me guitar. In fact, we roomed together my freshman year at the university, and he taught me while we were rooming together as freshmen. We had already been in a band together before that, but then we started another band in college called No Flowers, and that was the first time I truly started playing guitar and singing in that band. And then, oh, what other bands have I been in? I guess most relevant, prior to Candy Coffins, I was in a post-hardcore band that I started called Crown the Cake, and it was actually formed while I was here in Columbia, South Carolina. Um, and so that's kind of the last thing I did before Candy Coffins.
Yeah, I can understand that, because I used to live too in another place and there's not much of a scene either, with regard to what I like. So when
Hmm.
you're like one and maybe there's a few other people
Right. Oh yeah, you
you
get to know everyone that's in that scene, right? You
and you
know
kind
them
of
all
like
by
you
name.
just like
That's right.
and then you have to go somewhere to just to watch a concert or do something and then when everybody goes, how did you learn all those songs? And you live
Right.
in that place. I just do, when you have a
That's right.
passion for something, you just know it, right?
Certainly.
Wow, okay. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Certainly.
I know you have a website, which is candycoffins.com. If people want to
That's right.
check out your music as well as Bandcamp, Candy Coffins and Bandcamp. And of course, you have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, Instagram, and of course, your YouTube channel. Did they
Yep.
just look for Candy Coffins and then they'll take you there?
Yeah, fortunately, like you mentioned earlier, it's a unique enough name where you can put that in and you're going to find us. Yeah.
Okay.
And all those links to all those social outlets are on our website, candycoffins.com as well. So you can just link out from there.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. Big shout out to Shauna from Shameless Promotion PR
Absolutely.
for organizing and always doing a great job. And yeah, congratulations on your new LP, Once Do It With Feeling. And it's available on their Bandcamp page, Candy Coffins and Jame Lathren. Thank you for joining.
Got it.
I got to make sure I say
Thanks.
your
Yeah,
name.
that's right.
I mean, if they Google your name, you'll only find you, right?
That's right. They may find my father, but they can figure that out. Thank you so much for having me and for asking such engaging questions and kind of knowing a little bit about us. I really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, always. Yeah, thank you. Hold on one second. Okay, let me stop the recording. All right.
Certainly.